Gen Z lead this trend? And who are we seeing cash into it? We take a look right here on the show.
Also on the program, we sit down with a 17-year-old Kamya and understand about her inspiring climb, how she's reaching new heights, the mountain climbing achievement she has had at just this tender age.
And after that, we take you on the roads. You're going to be taking a look at the Triumph Daytona 660 as we test it out for you. A new era for Indian riders. Well, that's what it promises. But does it deliver on that? It's a sports bike for the masses. We know that. But does it live up to its legacy? We take a look right here on the show.
All right, let's start this morning by diving into a phenomena that's changing the way we consume and connect with brands today. It's called, quite simply, the nostalgia economy. It's all about reviving the magic of the past, packaging it in ways that evoke a sense of comfort, evoke a sense of familiarity, and also bring in a sense of longing. The reboots of the 90s TV shows, the repackaging of food and beverages from the 90s again. Nostalgia is proving to be a gold mine for businesses looking to create an emotional connect with their consumers. Did you know that India's nostalgia economy actually is driven and ran sort of from retro games to vintage style advertising as well, and is estimated to grow rapidly in the coming future? The Gen Z in India is actively engaging with it as well. Right? Now, of course, the idea behind all of this is to look at different patterns in which they actually come up. The retro content online, which of course includes 90s music, to throwback Bollywood reels, to the return of products like analog cameras, the cassette players, all of those witnessing a huge growth, particularly in the urban youth.
So why are we so hooked onto the past? Well, according to experts, the answer is simple. Nostalgia sells. It's an emotion that cuts through the noise, it grabs attention and drives decisions. Even top companies are using it. Legacy brands are tapping into retro aesthetics to boost sales. Bollywood is recreating iconic songs to capture both young and old audiences. And let's not forget, movie re-releases, movies being released and coming out, reaching box office highs. These are films not just from the 90s, even the early 2000s that are seeing re-releases. India's unique cultural diversity makes this economy even more interesting. But to understand a lot more about this, we have Dr. Dilip Cherian joining us. He's known as India's ImageGuru, and he'll help us decode how all of this works. Hello, sir. Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Club.
Good morning. Good morning. Great to see you, ladies. Thank you.
Lovely to see you. Can we get first your sort of analysis around this phenomenon? I want to understand from you, sir, are there some products you think that lend themselves more easily to retro marketing, some that don't? And what do you see as the timeline? Is 10 years back retro? Does it have to go back 20 years? How do you see the definition of it in the first place?
A lot depends on the market and the target of consumers that that they are looking at. I think that the rise of retro is a good thing from the marketer's point of view because they can go back to some basics. But we have to be very clear that there are some who are actually just drawing on inspiration that used to be much more, shall I say, focused on product in the past. Do these dreams work for the audiences in all cases? No. It's a matter of taste, it's a matter of age, and it's a matter of product content. I'll break that down. If you're looking to sell to young people who are the big spenders today, then you need to make sure that the nostalgia is something that is kind of slightly accessible to them. Don't go back too far because they don't even know what you're talking about. And try and hook up only to the most iconic past trends. So a good example of how to do that would be what Paperboard did with Ampanna as an example. Okay, so you throw it back. When we worked on the brand, the theme was to try and make sure that people understood that there was something pure about the taste, and that this is what used to rule the roost some time ago. Whether it's a nimbu pani or an ampanna, it was the kind of thing that rang true to the young audience that they were trying to capture. Okay, and most importantly, the same product appealed to their parents and sometimes to their grandparents. So that worked because there was, in a sense, a societal endorsement of the messaging and the image of a new company. Remember that it was a new company, and the image they wanted to create was based on fundamentally traditional practices and tastes. So that's one kind of thing. So I would say that marketers who are using this need to be careful. It should not be a substitute for lazy effort making, and there are too many who are trying to do that. Let's be very honest. So the image that you need to create is that of a product that isn't so far back that you can fake it in a sense, and then the belief begins to dwindle.
Right. Dr. Dilip Cherian, firstly, I must say those red specs are really adding to the retro theme. Just loving it on you this morning.
Thank you.
When we talk about trends in India on brands, one theme that one cannot miss is actually Bollywood, right? Everything is influenced by Bollywood and vice versa. And when it comes to nostalgia in Bollywood, the read there is slightly different, isn't it? How much of it do you think is a product of Bollywood actually not making good numbers? How much of it is a product of numbers going so bad that they have to sort of go back and cash in on what worked in the past? We are looking at times when even Karan Johar needs funding. We are looking at times when movies are tanking. So is that also one of the reasons why people are going back to what had worked in the past?
Lazy creativity. That's the fundamental flaw we are talking about here. Too many people have gone into elements of Bollywood, music being just one of them. It's even the fashion iconography. It's so pathetic sometimes that movies sometimes flop because everybody looking at it thinks that enough effort hasn't gone into it and everything looks cookie cutter. So the reason why a lot of people are now trying to hark back to the past was because, again, as I said, lazy creativity. A lack of ideas. Rhythm, the sheer impact of melody aside, there is also now consciousness among a lot of people. It's the same thing that I think is going to happen to some of the writing that surrounds us, because too many people are using the crutch of ChatGPT to produce copy. So, you're going to have a pushback where people want to experience and feel real quality that is epitomized by the effort that is visibly in the product that they are consuming. Whether it's a creative product like a movie or a song, or whether it's a product that they can taste and feel, or a product which they can just look and understand. Another example that works very well is De Beers has been going back to very traditional marketing, because at a time when artificial and lab-grown diamonds are dominating, De Beers understands that there is a tradition and there is a value in extraordinarily expensive craftsmanship which goes into creating diamonds the old-fashioned way.
Right.
Dr. Cherian, can I ask you, so a recent study put out these numbers. It essentially said that Gen Z is the most nostalgic. 15% feel that they'd prefer to think about the past rather than the present. You have millennials right behind that at 14%. And essentially what this study is arguing is that the last few years have been filled with such instability, such unsureness, that that's why you see nostalgia catching on in this way. It's the memory for a better past, essentially. Do you agree with that analysis, or do you think it's biased towards the current?
It's a difficult question. Let me just try and enunciate what I feel is the real reason. The numbers of Gen Z being much more driven towards wanting to clutch at the past I think a lot of it, both the generations, are deeply unsatisfied with the stuff that they're being bombarded with today. Secondly, there is this, many products today which are, trying to be very with it or current, uh, suffer from what I call an imposter syndrome. That is, you're not quite sure whether this product really embodies what the marketer is saying. So the fact that hype has run so far ahead of product, when we do image making, and I very often am chided by my own teams, I always tell my clients when I advise them that try and anchor yourself in as many hooks of reality, and then we'll create one or two elements of exciting hype to take it into, to add imagination to impact. So very often the reason that is pushed back by the current generations, and there'll probably be more pushback by future generations, is because they recognize that the content isn't anchored in actual product attributes, whether it's a movie, whether it's even a lyric of a song. Forget the melody, just the lyrics. The poor quality of repetitive, what I would call rap type lyrics is beginning to bother them, because they can see the quality, they can experience the quality difference when they go back to something just a few years ago, just a few decades ago.
Yeah, but Dr. Cherian, how much of it is also a product of having OD'd on stuff? I think this is also a generation which has had too much of social media, too much of OTT, too many things really in your face. Social media, of course, at the center of it all, bringing it together to you. So now people are maybe in a phase where they're taking a break, can we call it that, and saying, hold on, it's been too long of all of this, let's go back and let's pause for a while. We did a show a couple of days ago where we talked about how people, and even Gen Z, is going back to the dumb phone. They're saying, I don't want a smartphone anymore. I want the old phone where I can just call and text and nothing more. Is it an impact of too much? Are we moving to an era where we're saying, give us less, but give it good?
When you're bombarded, you look for a bomb shelter. So the bombardment of them, of the current generation, with so much, is making them value being able to pick and choose a few things which they want to understand, experience, and then put on replay. The replay part of which you're talking about is actually the most important and incisive way of looking at it. You have to have, I have this thesis in the books that I tend to buy in the library, which you see behind me. Unless a book has survived 50 years, there's no point reading it. If it's going to flip by and just be one of those bestsellers which came in the morning and was swept away over the weekend, there's no point buying it and reading it. It's got to have lasting value. And you can't have too many things of lasting value. That is the fundamental aspect. So you want to put them on replay. You want to experience and enjoy them. And you know that that quality is only a few hand-picked things. But if, Blinkit is giving you everything within the blink of an eye, you have no idea what you're choosing. You don't even know whether it's come, whether it's made at home, whether it's come out of a tin or a, packing case. No clue. And that is bothersome.
Mr. Cherian, can I ask you, there's a set of theorists who argue that for some nations that aren't Western nations, nostalgia offers us a very unique opportunity to look back at the things we grew up with, but this time through the lens of cool. So you talked a little bit about the jeera drink, aam panna. There are so many examples, coconut oil on the hair. That nostalgia offers any country that went through colonialism, went through that initial, few decades of looking at ourselves through the Western lens, this very, very ripe opportunity to reevaluate. What do you think of that?
It's easy to fall into the trap of colonialism, rooted in tradition, all of that. I don't think it's about that as much as it is about fundamental quality and value. I was arguing with a friend who had done some extraordinarily foolish shopping in a global capital the other day. And I said, why did you buy this product for the brand? Why did you not look at what the material was? The finest quality of cashmere or pashmina is something which is beyond brand. It is content and craft over branding and hype.
Yep.
Okay. Now, as an image maker, this may seem counterintuitive, but making the image of what is the content is actually the challenging part. And that's the fun part. And today, when I do this for companies, they're able to finally understand that the hook has to be inside. The hook can't be on the cover. The last time that covers mattered in a way that made it a product was when you had what is now called a retro product, the LPs, the long playing records of the past, where each cover was actually a work of art. You had people commissioned and they became works of art which deserved spaces in museums, not just the music which was inside on the vinyl records.
Yeah. Dr. Cherian, very, very fascinating chat. And can I then ask you, what is your personal outlook on the nostalgia economy? In the years to come, do you see this trend stay? Or do you think there will be a rethink within various groups of creative people, brands, Bollywood, music, all of that alike, to say, you know what, it's time to go back to the basics. We can't keep harping on the same tune.
There are three words I will use: technology, convenience, and values. When a product is meant to have very large dollops of technology in it, don't try and play nostalgia. So I don't see either of you ladies or even me going back to a stick shift car. Okay. So where technology has a huge embedded use value, it is going to be advanced, futuristic, that's going to play. Where the product has content which insinuates impurity in its advancement, insinuates impurity in its advancement. So when you know that something has been processed to the point where it is now pure path, there people will want nostalgia. Playing with nostalgia is not everybody's game. Being able to use that in marketing, being able to use that as a product attribute needs an expert hand to be able to guide that. How much of it resonates? How much of it is remembered? How much of it has been forgotten? When you can try and revive something, but people don't even understand what that product is. So it's best left to people who have I would say, a very rare mixture of understanding history and being able to embed excitement about the future. So some products it will work with. It's not going to be a mainstream theme, I'm quite confident. But as you said very rightly, it's also a pushback onto this massive overload of too much that's happening around. And people's minds and people's eyes, people's ears are tired of that blabber, constant 24/7.
Dr. Cherian, thank you for joining us. Thank you for illuminating so many aspects of this topic for us.
Thank you.
All right. What an interesting discussion.
Very, very interesting discussion. OD'd on a lot of stuff really, and now this is the time to sort of rethink this phase of nostalgia, really a time to rethink on all of those things. Well, meanwhile, we are going to do some thinking ourselves, get a cup of tea, and probably see you after this very quick break. And on the other side, we'll be joined by 17-year-old Kamya, who is an inspiring climber. We'll tell you how she does it and what exactly on the other side.
LIC presents.
On the eve of Republic Day, there's no letdown of guard, particularly in the snow-bound areas, and the enemy can try to infiltrate. There are already inputs that there is possibility of infiltration that can take place, and to avoid that, teams like these carrying special equipments and carrying warm clothing carry out patrolling in the snow-bound area. Several feet of snow is covering this particular location in Tangdar sector, where the Rashtriya Rifles ensuring, the Indian Army is ensuring that they not only carry out patrol, but also you will see, my VJ will show you, they have the rescue gear. In case of any avalanche, because this is an avalanche-prone area, they're able to carry out rescue operations swiftly, not only of their men, but also those Jawans of those people who live near the line of control. If there is avalanche, anyone gets trapped, they are well equipped and trained to ensure that through their specialized training, they are not only able to detect any person who's under the snow, but also able to take him immediately. You will see there's a stretcher on one army Jawan's back, and patrolling continues relentlessly. Possibilities of enemy trying to sneak in, taking advantage of bad weather has always been there, be it in the summer time when these mountainous passes get a lot of fog, and be it in the snow when the enemy believes that the guard is down, but they are ensuring that the guard is kept tight. They're able to ensure that the practices remain intact, and they're able to carry out sophisticated patrolling using the sophisticated and best of equipment, snowshoes and gear and the jackets that they have, to ensure that even in the minus 10 degrees Celsius here and the very gusty winds, are able to ensure that the nation's borders are protected, and the people celebrate Republic Day while they are guarding these borders in the harshest of climate. So we've seen that it's very harsh winter climate here, and generally there's a threat of avalanche also taking place. We see behind us there's a team which is carrying out their exercise and drills every day. Tell us about the drills, particularly on the Republic Day or these days when the enemy is trying to sneak in.
Be it any day, Indian Army is always on high alert. So especially on days like Republic Day or Independence Day, the security get enhanced. As you can see, the patrol which has gone, it has gone as a dual task patrol, which carry out the patrolling also, and it is trained also to rescue people during times of avalanches. And it is being the condition here, that is the terrain and the weather, challenging weather, our soldiers are always prepared for that, and we have also got special equipment which help the soldiers to get accustomed to the terrain also, and to give the befitting reply to the enemy also.
We have seen that on these days that there's enemy taking advantage of the harsh weather conditions and trying to sneak in. You have the equipment to deal with that. So how is the Josh among the forces?
Yes, certainly the new generation equipment which has come into army, the special equipment which is there to this terrain also, increases the morale of a soldier. Certainly the infiltration grid and the surveillance grid, it get enhanced by all this equipment, and we get assured that there will be no infiltration from this area.
And as the entire nation comes together to witness this grand celebration, the heart of the festivities lies at the majestic Rajpath in the capital, New Delhi. Akash is joining us this broadcast. Akash, very good morning. Please take us through the details of the day. What is going to take place first and what comes next?
Right. So first of all, India is celebrating 76th Republic Day today. This is an important day, special day for every Indian, because this time around we are going to see a number of new elements in the Republic Day parade. This parade is being commanded by Lieutenant General Bhavnesh Kumar, who is the General Officer commanding of Delhi area, and he is commanding the parade. Interestingly, his son is also part of the parade, where he is
Welcome back to the Breakfast Club. Today on the show, we have a wonder kid who's scaling mountain after mountain. She's our person of interest. Kamya Karthikeyan is a 17-year-old who recently, just a few days ago, became the youngest female ever to summit the highest peaks on all 7 mountains. And get this, she's doing it every single time with her dad right next to her.
That's so lovely. Just a few days ago, on the 24th of December, Kamya and her dad, Commander S. Karthikeyan from the Indian Navy, reached the summit of Mount Vincent in Antarctica. And what does it take really to climb not one, not two, but mountain after mountain with your parent? And what exactly are her parents feeding her to be going through all of this? We have her on the program today. Hi, good morning, Kamya. Thank you so much for joining us. First question really, what made you think of it? How did you get started on your trekking, climbing journey?
So for me, climbing and hiking has always been a part of life. My dad's in the Navy, and when I was about 3 or 4 years old, he was posted in Lonavala, which is considered the lap of the Sahyadris. So there we started venturing out on small treks during the weekends. And from there, when my dad started climbing in the Himalayas, I was very curious because he used to be gone for a month or so on each expedition. So I'd ask my mom, what does he find in the mountains for him to leave us and go there again and again? So my mom said we should go and see for ourselves. And that's how I went on my first Himalayan trek back in 2015 when I was just 7 years old.
Wow.
And I think after that, the mountains have just called us back and we kept going every year.
Amazing.
Kamya, what is it like having your dad with you every time you've done this, having him as a guide in the day-to-day?
I think it's been a very special journey with both my parents, in fact, because I climbed the first 3 of the 7 summits with my mom, and I've climbed 5 of them with my dad. The climb in Europe we did as a family together. So I think it's been really special and different from what the normal experience is for anyone else doing the 7 summits. I think I've definitely gotten to learn a lot from my dad, in how he climbs, the techniques he uses, all this experience that he has, and how meticulously he plans and prepares for a climb, very importantly. But at the same time, even when we're on the mountain, we're always having our own little fights like any father and daughter would.
Yeah, so, this is an extraordinary achievement. People, adults have it on their bucket list to sort of do this in their life. You've already done it and you're not even 18. So what are these squabbles all about when you are at sub-0 degrees at some crazy level and you have a fight with your dad? How do you manage that?
Well, when you're in the mountains and you're, sharing a tent with someone, you don't really have space. But I think we always have those little squabbles when we're planning or when we're walking and we have a little disagreement, but we always just talk it out. And we know that, when you're on the mountain and you're tired and you're physically challenging yourself so much, there's a lot of tempers that fly around. So we kind of just talk with each other a lot.
So Kamya, none of us have climbed mountains. So you're going to have to tell us, what is it that you love about it? Is there a rush that one experiences when they're on top of the mountain?
I think there's definitely a high of some sorts. I think there's just so many things about each climb that fascinates you. Each climb is unique in its own way. It has its own unique challenges that you have to face and so many beautiful things that you get to see. And also the kind of people that you climb with, because every single mountaineer that you climb with, they have their own amazing individual stories, and just getting to climb alongside these people and hearing their stories and getting to share your own stories, I think is very, very special.
We're talking about stories and experiences. It's all fun and game. You're smiling right now, but I'm sure it's difficult as well. Have there been some life-threatening experiences, moments that you want to share with us?
So, in September 2021, we were on an expedition to Mount Trishul, which is in Uttarakhand. And there was another team that was climbing a few days ahead of us as well. And while we were at Camp 2, there was a huge avalanche that came down the mountain. And unfortunately, we lost 5 of our very good friends there on that day. And the avalanche turned away from our camp just 50 meters from where our tents were. So we were extremely close to it and we're lucky to have been safe. But I think it definitely taught me about how unpredictable the mountains could be. And although we definitely miss all the friends that we lost on that expedition, I think we believe that they're always in the mountains and looking out for us.
That's so scary, but we
So
appreciate,
sweet how she put
we
it,
appreciate
yeah.
that beautiful interpretation. Tell us some more stories though, especially because you've climbed mountains across the world, not just in India, and you've done all of this at 17. What are other stories?
I think all of the seven summits just have such unique stories for me. Like the first that we did, which is Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa. It was very interesting because every day the terrain was changing. So the first day you start out in a tropical forest, and the second day the trees become shrubs, and the third day it's like you're walking in a desert, and the fourth day you're at the summit with snow around. So, as a 10-year-old, for me, it was kind of like a fast track 4-day geography class. And the second climb that we did to Mount Elbrus, we had reached the base town from where the climb starts, and we were looking for mountaineering boots for our entire team. And every shop that we went to had no boots for a shoe size as small as mine. And a lot of shopkeepers were joking as to who would bring such a young kid to climb Mount Elbrus. And we finally had to climb the peak wearing snowboarding shoes. And because I also wanted to ski down from the summit, we were actually sitting there at the summit at 5,800 something meters in the freezing cold and changing my boots into the ski shoes so that I could ski down. So that was very, very interesting and unique. And the peak that we climbed in South America, Mount Aconcagua, we had to face a whole battle even before we could, set foot on the mountain. Because we reached Argentina and then we were told that the rule position had changed, because of which we needed to fight a case in the family court to just obtain a permit for me to climb as a minor. And because there was no precedence of such a case, the judge was initially not even ready to take up the case. So we spent 2 weeks running around the city of Mendoza in Argentina, trying to get all these documents together because the judge just wasn't ready to give us permission to climb. And as Providence would have it, on the 15th day, the judge at the court changed, and the new judge was a mountaineer himself. So he gave us the permit on the very same day, and we set out for the climb. But then again, the guides weren't very happy about taking such a young kid on the mountain. So on the day when we were reaching our summit camp, which is our last camp, they found a reason and turned us back all the way to the base camp. And we had to talk to the expedition operator and get a new guide and effectively climb the entire mountain twice just to get to the summit. And the peak that we climbed in North America, Mount Denali, there's actually only 7 companies that are allowed to have guided expeditions on that mountain. And none of them were ready to take me because I was so young, because I was a girl, and because I was Indian. And they had some sort of bias against Indian climbers. But because of that, we had to go as an unguided expedition of just 4 climbers with no guide, just our own confidence and abilities. And we made it all the way to the top. And I think what was really heartening was that at the summit camp, a few guides came in and told us, I think our companies would have benefited if they took you into our team, because then we would have had the privilege of having guided the youngest non-American to have climbed that peak. So I think it was really great for me to be able to change that mentality they had regarding young climbers and Indians in general. And I think Everest, of course, it's a very special climb for any mountaineer, and there's just so many stories.
Oh my God, Kamya, those are just crazy stories. Like, good Lord, clearly, I don't know what your parents are feeding you clearly over there, but tell us, what does it take for a young person like you, and you've been doing it for a while, to prep for a trek? And like you're saying, for every trek, there's a different kind of preparation.
So for mountaineering, our training is usually always very consistent, and it has to be consistent throughout the years. So we do like to believe that, each expedition that we do acts as training for all the climbs that are yet to come in a way, because you learn new skills that you definitely use afterwards in your future climbs as well. But our physical training works a lot on building our endurance, building our lung capacity. So we usually train by going on long runs. So 10 to 15 kilometers is our usual running distance. And during COVID, when we couldn't venture outside, we started climbing the stairs of our building. We live in a 20-floor building. So we started climbing the stairs about 10 or 15 times. And once we get closer to the expedition dates, we start doing the same thing while wearing a 20 kg backpack. So we get to train with the weight that we'll be carrying on the mountain as well. And we've been traveling to Gulmarg in Jammu and Kashmir for the last 11 odd years now. to train for skiing, to train with being there in really cold temperatures, and also for the climbs in North America, which is Mount Denali, and in Antarctica, which was my latest climb to Mount Vinson. There are days on the expedition when you have to pull a sled along with you, which has about 50 kgs worth of your equipment, your clothing, your tents, everything for the entire expedition. And that's mainly because in those particular mountains and expeditions, you don't have porters who can share some of your weight with you. So we've also been training for that over the past few years. So it's a lot of mix and match of these different types of trainings. And we definitely also, being in Mumbai, venture out on a few treks into the Sahyadri Hills. So we kind of keep in touch with walking through the rugged terrain as well.
Kamya, this is all very inspiring, but we must say, I feel like any teenager listening to this at home or any parent of a teenager will ask, ki rebellion nahi hota? She just sounds like such a star kid. Have you ever had phases of just being like, I don't want to do it?
Definitely, I'm sure, the smallest of things. There's definitely days in the morning where I want to sleep in for a bit instead of getting up and going for training. But I think I get that little bit of push from my parents, and my dad is my coach, so I don't think there's any way of getting out of training for me. But I think as a mountaineer, you learn to be very calm and collected, and also very humble, because you need that when you're going out on the mountains. A lot of people think that, mountaineers feel a rush when they reach a summit or conquer a summit. But I think when you're in the mountains, you learn to be really calm. When you reach a summit, you're actually just feeling very grateful to be there. And most of the times, you're just thinking about how you're going to get back down to safety to your camp. So I think a lot of my demeanor is because of being in the mountains for this long period.
I have to actually remind myself I'm speaking to a 17-year-old constantly. I need that reminder. But Kamya, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Is there something else that you do? Any other passions apart from mountaineering, or does that take away all of your time?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, my parents kind of offered all the possible activities they could to me on a platter, and they said, pick, choose whatever you like and continue doing it. And I think I got a little bit greedy there. So, I've been training in Bharatanatyam for the last 10 plus years. I've learned piano till grade 5 with Trinity College of Music. I've learned guitar till grade 2. I'm a national level debater. So, all these things are just things that I've been very passionate about. And I think it's true for any kid. Once you get into something and you enjoy it even a little bit, you just want to keep doing it. And I think I've just been lucky to be able to consistently do all of these things along till now.
Okay, Kamya, before we let you go, tell us what's next. What's your big dream with your parents when it comes to climbing?
I think right now I'm aiming in the short term to finish what's called the Explorers Grand Slam. So it's kind of an ultimate challenge in mountaineering to climb the 7 summits, which is what I've finished right now, and also to ski to the North and the South Poles. So that is what's in store for the upcoming year. And I think in the long term, I want to climb a lot more peaks in the Indian Himalayas, because we just have so many beautiful, tough, challenging mountains that I think even a lifetime wouldn't be enough to climb all of them. But I definitely love to keep climbing as many as I can.
All right, Kamya, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And my God, this is as inspiring as a Monday morning can get. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so very much. And oof, I'm blown away. Yeah.
Okay, let's take you now to other stories, things that are happening in India and across the globe. Let's take a look. Number 1, of course, yesterday India celebrated its 76th Republic Day as the country put on display its military might, including marching contingents, various indigenous weapon systems and missiles at the Kartavya Path. Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto was the chief guest on the occasion. The celebrations began with the unfurling of the flag by the president, followed by the parade. Some of the cutting-edge defense platforms, including BrahMos, Pinaka and Akash, all of them with the Army's battle surveillance system Sun Sanjay, DRDO's surface-to-surface tactical missile. They all mark their presence in the ceremonial parade for the first time.
Or Rajput Regimental Center.
Coldplay's lead singer Chris Martin greeted his Indian fans in Hindi on Sunday, that's the 26th of January, during the British mega band's show in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. He also sent wishes to Indians on the occasion of 76th Republic Day, thanked everyone for the warm welcome in the beautiful country. In fact, listen in to what he actually said, the beautiful Hindi. It was a show one really had to watch, and the best part was everybody who could not get tickets could actually watch it online.
And let's go back to what took place yesterday. The Indonesian president, who was on his first state visit to India, shared a light-hearted joke about a DNA test that revealed that he had Indian ancestry too, prompting laughter from everyone around him. The Indonesian president was attending the special banquet. It was hosted by the president, Draupadi Murmu. He said he is proud to be in India and further wished prosperity, peace and greatness for the people of this country.
Former Beatles star Paul McCartney has warned the AI could be used to rip off artists, using the British government to make sure upcoming copyright reforms protect creators. In an interview aired by the BBC on Sunday, saw the musician worry about tech giants benefiting from the work of artists. Globally, the music and film industries are grappling with legal and ethical implications of AI models that can produce their own output after being trained on popular works without necessarily paying the creator of the original content.
So, for instance, you get young guys, girls, coming up and they write a beautiful song and they don't own it. And they don't have anything to do with it, and anyone who wants can just rip it off. I mean, the truth is the money's going somewhere, you know, and it gets on the streaming platforms. Somebody's getting it, and it should be the person who created it. It shouldn't just be some tech giant somewhere. So I think you just have to worry about the rip-off. AI is a great thing, but it shouldn't rip creative people off. There's no sense in that. Why would a government want to do that? I don't get it.
And much loved cellist Yo-Yo Ma performing to the glaciers from Davos as part of a climate change initiative. The world's perhaps most famous cellist performed 3 pieces in cold and snowy conditions on a mountain just above Davos. By performing Hope, the organizers behind the initiative, it was launched in Davos in 2024. They believe the emotional energy needed facing the challenge of climate change can be generated through efforts like this.
All right, strong winds ripped roofing from the top of the Belfast film studio where TV series Game of Thrones was filmed as storm struck the British Isles. Now, video posted on social media showed roofing flying from the Titanic studios where many of the show's most iconic scenes were shot, including those featuring the famous Iron Throne. Record high winds from the storm battered Ireland and Northern Ireland, leaving almost 1/3 of the Irish homes and businesses without power and forcing cancellation of hundreds of flights and closure of schools and public transport.
And now we are heading into a break, but we aren't done. On the other side, we tell you the overdrive verdict on the Triumph Daytona 660 tested. Is it a new era for Indian riders as it promises to be? And does it live up to the legacy that it carries? That and more on the other side.
Scammers.
On the eve of Republic Day, there's no letdown of guard, particularly in the snow-bound areas, and the enemy can try to infiltrate. They're already in post that there is possibility of infiltration that can take place, and to avoid that, teams like these carrying special equipments and carrying warm clothing, carry out patrolling in the snowbound area. Several feet of snow is covering this particular location in Tangdar sector, where the Rashtriya Rifles ensuring, the Indian Army is ensuring that they not only carry out patrol, but also you will see, my video will show you, they have the rescue gear. In case of any avalanche, because this is an avalanche prone area, they're able to carry out rescue operations swiftly, not only of their men, but also those Jawans of those people who live near the line of control. If there is avalanche, anyone gets trapped, they are well equipped and trained to ensure that through their specialized training, they are not only able to detect any person who's under the snow, but also able to take him immediately. You will see there's a stretcher on one army Jawan's back, and patrolling continues relentlessly. Possibilities of enemy trying to sneak in, taking advantage of bad weather has always been there, be it in the summer time when these mountainous passes get a lot of fog, and be it in the snow when the enemy believes that the guard is down, but they are ensuring that the guard is kept tight. They're able to ensure that the practices remain intact, and they're able to carry out sophisticated patrolling using the sophisticated and best of equipment, snowshoes and gear and the jackets that they have, to ensure that even in the minus 10 degrees Celsius here and the very gusty winds, they're able to ensure that the nation's borders are protected, and the people celebrate Republic Day while they are guarding these borders in the harshest of climate. So we've seen that it's very harsh winter climate here, and generally there's a threat of avalanche also taking place. We see behind us there's a team which is carrying out their exercise and drills every day. Tell us about the drills, particularly on the Republic Day or these days when the enemy is trying to sneak in.
Be it any day, Indian Army is always on high alert. So especially on days like Republic Day or Independence Day, the security get enhanced. As you can see, the patrol which has gone, it has gone as a dual task patrol, which carry out the patrolling also, and it has trained also to rescue people during times of avalanches. And it is being the condition here, that is the terrain and the weather, challenging weather, our soldiers are always prepared for that, and we have also got special equipment which help the soldiers to get accustomed to the terrain also, and to give the befitting reply to the enemy also.
We have seen that on these days that there's an enemy taking advantage of the harsh weather conditions and trying to sneak in. You have the equipment to deal with that. So how is the Josh among the forces?
Yes, certainly the new generation equipment which has come into army, the special equipment which is there to this terrain also, increases the morale of a soldier. Certainly the infiltration grid and the surveillance grid, it get enhanced by all this equipment, and we get assured that there will be no infiltration from this area.
And as the entire nation comes together to witness this grand celebration, the heart of the festivities lies at the majestic Rajpath in the capital, New Delhi. Akash is joining us this broadcast. Akash, very good morning. Please take us through the details of the day. What is going to take place first and what comes next?
Right. So first of all, India is celebrating 76th Republic Day today. This is an important day, special day.
Welcome back to the Breakfast Club, and now we're taking you to the roads where we're going to be reviewing Triumph Daytona 660. It's a high-performance sports bike that's just been launched in India.
But what makes this bike special, and is it really worth considering if you are in the market for a new ride? Let's take a closer look with Overdrive.
Now, the Triumph Daytona series of motorcycles have always been associated with power, speed and precision, well, for quite a while now. And they've been known the world over for just that. And when India got a taste of that almost a decade ago, when Triumph came out with the Daytona 675 and the spec'd up sportier 675R, well, those were thoroughly impressive machines because, yeah, they were proper mid-capacity super sports. The best part about those motorcycles was the fact that they felt very much at home out on our Indian roads, and if you tuned it up a bit, they felt very much at home out on the circuits at track day events too. But sadly in 2016, well, the Triumph Daytona 675, the standard version was taken off the global menu, and we were all left in disbelief when the R version followed suit a couple of years later. But not to worry, that nameplate, the iconic nameplate, is back again in today's world. This is the Daytona 660 in a slightly more rounded off package, let's say. And today we are going to find out if this motorcycle is worthy of that iconic nameplate. Should you actually consider buying one? How does it fare out in today's world? Let's find out. The Triumph Daytona 660 looks undeniably attractive, but it doesn't quite push the envelope when it comes to sharpness and aggression. The bike silhouette is distinctively sleek with clean-cut lines, and it exudes an air of sophistication up front, with its split headlamps, the sizable windscreen, and that nicely designed full fairing, which Triumph aficionados will appreciate. However, the tail section is very reminiscent of its siblings, the Trident 660, and it does look somewhat stubby, detracting from the overall sporty aesthetic that one might expect from a Daytona model. When parked, the three colors that are on offer won't particularly garner a lot of attention, apart from that of keen observers. The part negative LCD, part TFT instrumentation cluster has been lifted straight off the existing 660 models and now appears to lack a bit of freshness. Despite these critiques, the Daytona 660's design strikes as a commendable balance between form and function, even though it might not come across as being the sharpest tool in the shed. This motor out here is the same motor that's based on that which powers the likes of the Tiger Sport 660 and the Trident 660. However, Triumph have made a couple of changes to the internal bits of this engine, so now it makes around 15 PS more power than something like the Trident 660. So max power is up to around 94 PS now, and max torque is rated at around 69 Nm. So although it isn't as powerful as something, say, like the earlier Triumph Daytona 675 version or the R, it is the more powerful of the current generation 660s in Triumph's portfolio. Also, now the airbox is a lot bigger and the position has changed as well. So on something like the Trident 660, the airbox is located somewhere here under the seat, but now it has shifted to the central portion of this motorcycle, and lower down the power band you can actually hear that intake noise, which according to me just enhances the overall riding experience of this particular motorcycle. Now, the older gen Daytona 675, especially the R, seemed admirably boisterous and eager to hurl its motorcycle exhaust slang at other road users, telling them to get out of the way the moment you whack the throttle open. And on the other hand, this modern day Daytona 660 exudes more of a gentlemanly vibe, in a way that it appears to beg the pardon of others before scurrying past in a huff. But it's a motor that's enjoyable nonetheless. And it's very tractable too. Tractable enough for you to make minimal use of that clutch. It can pull away from as low as 26 km per hour without you having to reach for that left lever. It provides proper entertainment in the mid-range and up. The joys of a Triumph Triple are definitely there to be felt with this one. Well, anything above 4000 RPM, that's when this motor really starts getting fun. Around 4000 to 6000 RPM, it remains smooth and very composed. And after that, post 6000 RPM all the way to 11,000 RPM, well, it gets sort of gruff and it feels a lot more, well, fun and enjoyable than something like the Trident 660. So that's something that I really like about this motor. Alright, now in terms of riding position on the Daytona 660, well, it is rather sporty, but it's not overly committed. Now the clip-on bars are positioned in such a way that you don't have all your upper body weight on your palms as well, which some will really like. And of course the rear set foot pegs feel very comfortable, and it really feels like a motorcycle that you can really ride all day through, which is always a good thing.
All right, next we're taking you to a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro. It's Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look first at the overview. GIFT Nifty data is suggesting a listless opening for Indian equity indices today morning. US markets closed lower on Friday as tech stocks saw profit booking. Besides China and Hong Kong, most Asian markets as we speak are trading marginally lower today. Global crude oil prices are trading lower as Trump has repeated his call on OPEC to reduce prices.
All right, let's look at the sector in focus this Monday morning. October to December is a seasonally strong quarter for airlines. Demand as well as pricing remaining strong as travel trends favor airlines. Declining crude oil prices could be a meaningful tailwind as well for the sector. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's aviation industry and various other actionable insights on the markets. It is a premier destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need, brought to you by Money Control. All right, good Monday morning we had. We spoke about lots of nostalgia and lots of inspiration from a young girl. Huh?
Yeah. Kamya was really, really inspiring. But also just seeing that kind of discipline, that kind of love from someone young for something that they love. You know, just so single-handed. I wish I was like that when we were younger. We hope to bring you more people like that.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying she's so grown up because she's constantly around them as well, right? Like her parents taking her to, like kids at this age would ask for Disneyland. She's asking for a new mountain peak. I mean, it's just,
Which is
just
also
lovely.
possibly because they started so young with her, you know? And it was both the parents.
We can keep chatting.
Yeah, I was going to say, with that, we draw the show to a close.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow's episode is looking at a really, really cool new study. It's a model that could possibly predict dengue and dengue outbreaks from before. What are we talking about? You'll have to join us tomorrow to see. We'll have the experts on here. It's a more scientific show, but some really cool implications taking place right here on the show tomorrow.
See you then. Bye-bye.
On the eve of Republic Day, there's no letdown of guard, particularly in the snow-bound areas, and the enemy can try to infiltrate. They're already in post that there is possibility of infiltration that can take place, and to avoid that, teams like these carrying special equipments and carrying warm clothing carry out patrolling in the snow-bound area. Several feet of snow is covering this particular location in Tangdar sector, where the Rashtriya Rifles ensuring, the Indian Army is ensuring that they not only carry out patrol, but also you will see, my video will show you, they have the rescue gear. In case of any avalanche, because this is an avalanche-prone area, they're able to carry out rescue operations swiftly, not only of their men, but also those Jawans of those people who live near the line of control. If there is avalanche and anyone gets trapped, they are well equipped and trained to ensure that through their specialized training, they are not only able to detect any person who's under the snow, but also able to take him immediately. You will see there's a stretcher on one army Jawan's back, and patrolling continues relentlessly. Possibilities of enemy trying to sneak in, taking advantage of bad weather has always been there, be it in the summer time when these mountainous passes get a lot of fog, and be it in the snow when the enemy believes that the guard is down, but they are ensuring that the guard is kept tight. They're able to ensure that the practices remain intact, and they're able to carry out sophisticated patrolling using the sophisticated and best of equipment, snowshoes and gear and the jackets that they have, to ensure that even in the minus 10 degrees Celsius here and the very gusty winds, they're able to ensure that the nation's borders are protected, and the people celebrate Republic Day while they are guarding these borders in the harshest of climate. So we've seen that it's very harsh winter climate here, and generally there's a threat of avalanche also taking place. We see behind us there's a team which is carrying out their exercise and drills every day. Tell us about the drills, particularly on the Republic Day or these days when the enemy is trying to sneak in.
Beat any day, Indian Army is always on high alert. So especially on days like Republic Day or Independence Day, the security get enhanced. As you can see, the patrol which has gone, it has gone as a dual task patrol, which carry out the patrolling also, and it has trained also to rescue people during times of avalanches. And it is being the condition here, that is the terrain and the weather, challenging weather.
Hello and a very good morning. Thank you for tuning into CNN News 18. I'm Shen Elizabeth Matthew. Let's begin this bulletin with the top news this hour coming in from Uttarakhand. Now, in a historic move, Uttarakhand is set to become the first state in India to implement uniform civil code. Starting today, the UCC will be rolled out across the state, marking a major step towards legal uniformity. Now, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami will kick off the implementation at the State Secretariat, unveiling the UCC portal at 12:30 p.m. today. Now, the rules will be notified in a gazette on the same day. The implementation of UCC was among the key poll promises made by the Dhami government during the 2022 assembly election. Now, the implementation of the UCC in Uttarakhand is expected to bring sweeping changes to the legal working of the state on the subject of marriages, live-in relationship and inheritance, among other things.
ये जानना चाहूंगा सबसे पहले तो आपसे कि यूसीसी की जरूरत उत्तराखंड में क्यों पड़ी, आपके क्यों आया कि ये इंप्लीमेंट करना है, इसको लाना है, और क्या बदलेगा इसके बाद राज्य में?
देखिए, देश की आज़ादी के बाद से लेकर लगातार देश के अंदर इस बात की प्रतीक्षा रही, हमारी पार्टी का भी संकल्प रहा शुरू से कि अयोध्या में भगवान राम का मंदिर बनना चाहिए, जम्मू और कश्मीर में धारा 370 समाप्त होनी चाहिए, देश में समान नागरिक संहिता होनी चाहिए। तो देवभूमि उत्तराखंड में हम 2022 के असेंबली इलेक्शन में जनता के सामने हमने ये प्रस्ताव रखा, जब हम आदरणीय मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में इस चुनाव में गए थे, कि हमारी नई सरकार गठित होगी तो हम सबसे पहले यूसीसी के लिए काम करेंगे, यूसीसी का विधेयक लाएंगे, यहाँ यूसीसी हम लागू करेंगे। और हमने नई सरकार के गठन होते ही सबसे पहला काम हमने यूसीसी का इसके लिए ड्राफ्ट कमेटी बनाई। पहला मंत्रिमंडल में हमने ये निर्णय किया और कमेटी बनाई ड्राफ्ट बनाने वाली, उसने कमेटी ने अपना काम किया और 2,35,000 से भी ज़्यादा लोगों से सुझाव लिए गए और विभिन्न जो हमारे हितधारक हैं, स्टेक होल्डर्स, उनसे भी बात हुई और हमारे अनेक संगठनों के लोगों से, राजनीतिक दलों के लोगों से, धार्मिक संगठनों से, सभी से सुझाव लेकर कमेटी ने अपना ड्राफ्ट बनाया और ड्राफ्ट सरकार को दिया, हमको दिया, हमने उसको